Shabbat Shalom. When I was in rabbinical school, I spent my summers working at a Camp Ramah Darom, in the mountains of northern Georgia, in the town where the film Deliverance was filmed. If you ever seen that movie? Right, the camp had 600 campers who came from families in big cities, Miami, Atlanta, who would drive up to the camp. But this is a very rural area of northern Georgia, up in the mountains. So there was a barber shop where I used to go get my hair cut. And I had all kinds of evangelical posters covering the entirety of the shop. And one day, in front of me was a man who was getting his haircut, who was vacationing from Texas. And he was talking with the barber how they should secede from the coasts and from the Yankees and New York and California. And I stepped up for my haircut. He said to me, "Are you from the Jewish camp?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, we don't want to mess with you folk, because it says in the Bible, whoever blesses you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will be cursed." I didn't say anything back. But I just thought about what he said. It's amazing. These are the words that Abraham said in our Parsha, that God said to Abraham in our Parsha 3,500 years ago. God appears to Abraham from Ur Kasdim, living in Haran, and tells him the words that begin the Jewish religion. "Go from your country, your native land, your father's house, to the land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing, and I will bless those that bless you, and curse those that curse you, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you." Amazing. Millennia later, in the hills of Georgia, it's still a spoken truth. But in all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. Or another way of saying it, that all the families of the earth shall be blessed through you. That's a pretty astounding statement. Pretty astounding statement about the centrality of being Jewish. Right? This is God's vision to Abraham from the very beginning. His very first words about what it means to be Jewish. First, different than other people. You shall go away from everything you came from. The idea of connection to a land. You'll go to a land that I will show you. And then the beginning of an idea, of a statement about our centrality in human history. It's really the beginning of the concept of chosenness, or the best part of chosenness. Doesn't mean we're the only people who are chosen, but somehow the idea that we're in the middle of things. Right? We carry an element of the spiritual and moral and ethical balance of human history with us. And it's amazing how it actually has played out. It's actually been the case through history, these words of God to Abraham, that were, for good and for worse, often in the middle of everything that happens. Right? Even from the very beginning, we were in the middle of ancient history. We weren't the centers of power, but we were stuck between Egypt and Mesopotamia, were the two superpowers. And then through all of our wanderings through history, too often in the middle, and sometimes we are the vehicles for the breakthroughs themselves. The Spinozas, the Freuds, the Karl Marxes, Einsteins, holding all the new ideas of history for humanity, what it means to be a human being, what it means to live in society, physics, all the greatest scientific breakthroughs and the most potent weapons of mankind. We were the central victims of the greatest force of evil in modern history, of the Nazis, who unleashed the most destructive and deadly war in history. Remember when it came out a few years ago, that Christopher Columbus may have been Jewish, a converso fleeing from the expulsion in Spain. I thought, of course, it makes perfect sense. Right? And there's good, but there's also bad from being in the middle of things, right? we don't always like to be in the middle. And so with Israel, we're always saying, why is the whole world watching us? Why are there more members of Associated Press and Reuters in Gaza than in all of Africa combined? Right? Why is everything Israel does under a microscope while everybody else gets away scot-free? Right? Legitimate questions. And why are there hundreds of thousands in the streets throughout the whole world looking at our actions and not caring about any other conflict? So in his first book, From Beirut to Jerusalem, Tom Friedman, the journalist, has a whole section about this phenomenon, because it's true now and it was true back then in the 80s when he was reporting. And he asked, well, why are there so many journalists turned to Israel and to the conflict there? And as he wrote even more recently in the Times, why are the Palestinians' story and suffering front and center? And do they appreciate how different that is from any of the other people who don't have a land, from the Kurds or the Uyghurs, who receive infinitely less resources and attention? And so, going back decades, he answers in Beirut and Jerusalem. It's part of how we see ourselves and part of how our cards have been dealt. Part of our miraculous story, how we came back, the only ancient people to return to our ancestral land, surviving against all the odds. And somehow that caught the attention and the fancy of the world, as it always has. From the Holocaust to the founding of Israel, Jews rose even more than ever before. A tiny nation and people, but somehow in the middle of things. In the middle of politics and culture in this country, the greatest power in the world. So I will bless those who bless you, I will curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. So it's a promise, maybe it's a gift, but it's also an opportunity and a charge too. And before God says, I will bless those that bless you and I will curse those that curse you, he says, and you shall be a blessing, v'heyeh bracha. And that's an imperative, it's commandment. We also have to learn to be a blessing. We have to live with the moral and ethical and spiritual high bar that's set for us. And in the midst of always being in the middle of things, of being blessed and thrust into all the stories of mankind and humankind, challenging or inspiring, that we have to embody what it means to be a vessel for blessing, to be a blessing. And just as for Abraham, having to leave everything at 75 years old and contend with the difficulties of a new beginning, it has not all been smooth sailing for us either. But the directive is simple, v'heyeh bracha, and be a blessing, no more and no less. We also have to play our part. And that from all of our wanderings and all of our oppressions and all of our good experiences, we have to care. We have to uphold those who need upholding and inspire those who need inspiring. And watch out and never tire from being who we are and sharing what we believe and bringing truth as best we can, blessing to our own and blessing to all the families of the earth. Shabbat Shalom.